Gaseous exchange, AQA Biology. Key terms: diffusion, which is the net movements of particles from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration, down a concentration gradient. Osmosis is the net movement of water from an area of high water potential to an area of low water potential, down a water potential gradient. Active transport is the net movement of particles from an area of low concentration to an area of high concentration against the concentration gradient. Transpiration is the water absorbed by osmosis through the leaves, capillary action down and up the xylem. When stomata opens, the water potential gradient is established. Trachea, a wide tube, air is passed from the throat down the chest. The top section is the larynx, smooth muscle, elastic fibers, and the C-shaped rings of cartilage. Exchange between organisms and their environments. The effect of surface area to volume ratio is how quickly substances are exchanged. Smaller organisms result in a larger surface area to volume ratio. The formula for surface area is the number of faces times the width times the length. The formula for volume is width times length times height. The features for specialized exchange surfaces are a large surface area, thin, semi-permeable membrane, movement of environmental mediums, transport systems to ensure movement of internal mediums. The diffusion equation is diffusion equals surface area times concentration difference. Gas exchange in single-celled organisms and insects. Examples of unicellular organisms. You have the I'm not even going to try and say that word. Flatworm and the earthworm. Features of the word that I cannot say are that they live in the freshwater pond and diffuses. They have a special shape and has two flagellas to swim. They have chloroplast for photosynthesis and carbon dioxide and oxygen dissolve through the cell membrane, so they don't need blood systems. Flatworms, they're thin tubules or thin-shaped body, and that makes them very efficient for gaseous exchange. Features of the earthworm, they're thin-walled blood vessels known as capillaries. They have gaseous exchange through diffusion. Gas exchange in insects. The spiracles open and close, and air enters in the spiracles. And from the spiracles, they go into tracheoles and extend throughout the body of the insect. And they don't need blood as they have a short diffusion pathway. How do respiratory gases move in and out of the tracheal system? Well, they allow for a diffusion gradient of carbon dioxide and oxygen. The mass transport, which allows contraction of muscles, which increases exchange. And the ends of the tracheoles are filled with water. And this means that the diffusion pathway is the same. So that water isn't let out, too much water isn't let out of the insect's body. And the adaptations of the insects is that they have an exoskeleton, which makes them strong, spiracles, which can open and close, and a trachea. Gas exchange in fish. Why is global warming bad for fishes? Well, it's because oxygen doesn't readily diffuse into water, and as it warms, less oxygen can dissolve. Fishes are adapted to obtain oxygen from the water, so if there's less oxygen in the water, then there's less oxygen available for the fish. Gas exchange in fishes occur by the water being pumped over the gills. The fish obtain the oxygen from the water, and in the gills, lamellae are found which provide a large surface area. So, as you can see, these are the gills, and then these are the lamellae. Now, running up and down the lamellae, you have blood vessels, which provide a short diffusion pathway, and the water that is taken in through the mouth makes its way into the gills. And how fish have evolved to deal with oxygen deficiency? Well, they've evolved in the way that they've got a counter current flow, which results in a steep concentration gradient due to the fact that there's always a circulation of oxygen and carbon dioxide within the fish, which means there's always a steep concentration gradient and a high rate of diffusion, so equilibrium is never met. Gaseous exchange in a leaf of a plant. A dichotomous plant leaf is a flowering plant with two embryonic leaves. The structure leaf adapted for gaseous exchange is that the surface of the mesophyles are in contact with air spaces in the leaves. This creates an increased surface area and a shorter diffusion pathway. Stroma are pores which open and close, and as they open, carbon dioxide enters and oxygen and water leave. Explain experiments to view stroma under a microscope. Well, you would use a clear nail varnish on the underside of the leaf, as this is where most stroma are. You would then allow that to dry and use a sticky tape and place that over the varnish. Then you'd peel off the sticky tape and then place in a slide and then put under a microscope. Special adaptations plants have to reduce water loss. Well, they have a thick cuticle, which results in it being waterproof. They have rolled up leaves, which reduces the water potential gradient. They have hairy leaves, which trap moisture in the air. They have stroma and pits, which traps the moisture in the air. And they have a decreased surface area, so it's less likely for water to leave. Gas exchange in humans. Essential features of a gas exchange system in humans are arterioles, good blood supply, and a short diffusion pathway. Essential features of an exchange surface is a high surface area to volume ratio, which results in a high rate of diffusion, it being thin for a short diffusion pathway, partially permeable, which allows gaseous molecules to pass, movement of an external medium, movement of an internal medium. What occurs in the respiratory system? Well, atmospheric air passes the thorax, which is the voice box, through the trachea, through the trachea, which breaks into two bronchi, then to the bronchioles, the alveoli, and then the capillaries. Bronchi, bronchioles, and alveoli. Well, the trachea branches into two bronchioles, which then go to the alveoli and then to the capillary. Ciliated epithelial are column-like fine hair structures which are rapid in the movement and they allow the movement of mucus. And a goblet cell is under ciliated epithelial cell, and they allow the synthesis and the secretion of mucus. Now that's all there is for gaseous exchange, and the next video will be about the mechanism of breathing and exchange of gases in the lungs. So if you like this video, then please like and subscribe.